Well, it's Wednesday the 30th. Let's check out beach camping on the northeast side of Bribie Island, says Bob. Good idea. Myrtle and I chorus together. Only been home 12 hours and Myrtle's looking for peace and quiet again. But first of all, we have to get a bit of car problems sorted out. Last night there was a real burning smell of, clutch pads and metal wafting through the cab as we were coming around the last roundabout. And, just a few clicks up the road really. And anyhow, the air conditioner had stopped. Well, sure enough, the compressor bearings are stuffed. So cut the aircon compressor belt and we're all good to go. Good old bush mechanic skills. Bob repacks the car and Myrtle and I actually tactfully lead him to it. That way he knows where everything is and we don't get the blame for it missing. Anyhow, we go and have a coffee and he packs twice, belts and braces and all that stuff. Well, we got water and gas and some tucker and Bribie Island, here we come. Well, low tide's at 4 o'clock in the arvo, so let's hit the beach before then. We'll try with fully inflated tyres, comes the word. Well, we grind and bump through the most horrendous kilometre of access road ever. Then finally the blue surf is just before us and only 50 metres of soft sand to the hard stuff. She'll be right, mate. We plough on into the final obstacle. When the chassis and the fuel tanks are sitting on the sand and all four wheels are spinning in powder, and you have to swallow your pride and say, mate, we're parked. So just thought we would stop here for a bit and admire the scenery, I asked Bob. Guess so, comes the curt reply. Okay, time to get out the recovery tracks that Myrtle and son Philip had the foresight to give Bob on his last birthday. We dig out the sand, lower the tyre pressure, place the tracks and stick the old cruiser in low ratio diff lock on the reverse gear and put a mean looking Bob behind the wheel. What could go wrong? Absolutely nothing. Anyhow, textbook extraction. Reversing 15 or so metres, then slam her into 4 gear, rip over the soft stuff with the gentlest, with the greatest of ease, I probably should say. I'm so glad you brought those recovery tracks, Myrtle and Philip. Of course, it goes without saying, if no one saw us bogged and we don't have any photos of it, did we really get bogged? After all, no one would be stupid enough to try and drive on soft powdery sand without deflating the tyres. Such is life. Anyhow, a drink of water, wind in our hair, surf to the right, sand hills to the left. We're screaming north, leaving the embarrassment of being bogged as a distant memory. We reckon we wanted to get bogged just to demonstrate our recovery skills and try out the new and unused tracks. We give ourselves a 10 plus and look for our campsite. Number 6 it is. This will be our home for the next 2 nights. We might have had to contend with blood-sucking flies and coppers and snakes and dingoes on Fraser, but here we have the Bribie wild turkeys. Goodness me. Bob's on his hands and knees trying to do something in his tent, head down, backside hanging out, when he's bitten on the rump by 2 turkeys trying to get into his tent. I tell you, he's a popular lad. Well, he had a few choice words to say that must have been in turkey lingo because they immediately understood and bolted for the scrub. Finally in a place where we can have a pit fire. And the park rangers provide the pit, but no wood. And you're not allowed to collect on the island. Good thing Bob remembered to get Myrtle to load up some firewood before we left home. He reckons if she was here, he would just have to suggest and she would diligently get up and put another log on the fire. Oh, mate. Oh, reminds me of that hillbilly song from Tomple Glasser. Look it up sometime. Anyhow, the lad's been married for over 50 years. You would think he might have learnt something about women by now. Lord, spare me. Ah, well. Here we go, Thursday the 31st of October. Now, the main shipping channel for Brisbane comes very close to this part of Bribie. And all night and day, there's a procession of large ships coming and going. I was sure that I could hear the rhythmic throbbing of a large cargo ship as it passed by early in the night. Tell him he's dreaming. Anyhow, about 4:30 this morning, I staggered out of my tent to the sight of a huge cruise boat, possibly one of the Carnival cruise liners or something like that, steaming by with all her deck lights ablaze like a floating town full of partying people just, heading to Brisbane, probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. I could hear the ghost of Johnny Cash saying, well. Day breaks and the routine of wheat bix and canned fruit took a bad turn this morning when Chef Bob discovered that we had eaten all of the fruit and were left with an alternate choice of spaghetti and meatballs, baked beans to go on the wheat bix. Then we discovered the one last can of creamed rice. Oh, ripper. That was delicious. I still followed up with the baked beans and a cup of tea. The turkeys are still trying to demonstrate that they dominate our campsite. The blood-sucking march flies still wanting to die by attacking us. We oblige. It's full-on war, by the way. Anyhow, lazy day, watching the tide come and go. We thought about a swim, but way too many blue bottles and other jelly things, so a 5-kilometre cruise up the beach and we come to the old World War II gun emplacements and the Channel Mine Control Centre. Now, this is used to prevent enemy submarines using the channel in the Second World War. The deep water channel comes right in close to this part of Bribie, and these old concrete monsters were built in the 1940s and were up in the sand dunes, but are now breaking apart as they squat on the beach and are washed by the high tide. Anyhow, Bob and I have got used to living in the same space by now. He wanders off and does his stuff and I do mine. We double up a few times. Like I'd make him a cup of tea, put in the sugar and stir it, then he'd come along and he'd re-sugar it and stir it. Sweet as, bro. But leave him long enough and he gets it sorted. Look out, the turkeys are attacking again, ripping our rubbish bag to pieces. Bob talks once again in their language, so has a little chat, and once again they rip off into the scrub. Our nearest neighbour, about 100 metres along the beach, say they've been constantly harassed by sand goannas. Oh God, the wild Australian bush. Next we'll have drop bears and yowies. Well, time for some exquisite noodles and a campfire as the gentle sea breeze just murmurs in the she oaks and cools the atmosphere. Another great big ship glides by and just heading to probably some exotic destination, and twilight envelops. Well, it's Friday the 1st, Ocean Beach, Bribie Island, 5 a.m. Tide's rising and we need to get out or risk ploughing the kilometres through the soft powdered sand. Well, the well-oiled machine, a team of Bob and Ross slips into gear and we've racked, sacked and packed everything, leaving only our footprints. We cruise south along the beach, playing dodgem with the dozens of large jellyfish washed up on the last night's tide. Macca's for breakfast, suggests Bob, and the committee of 2 vote yes. Well, by 8:30, hot showers and smoky 3-day-old camp clothes in the washing machine, and the good old boys' island adventure is over. The amazing thing is Bob and Ross are still good mates. Someone once said, a good friend listens to your adventures. A best friend makes them with you. I hope you enjoyed this story. Good on yous. Bye.